Paul Joseph Watson has proven himself to be, at many times, very uncoordinated, and at many times he is, rather than showing, quote, the truth, he does nothing but push a narrative. I find that this is something that is very odd, as he claims to not like it when people push narratives, while pushing a narrative himself. He pushes the narrative that everyone in the government, as of now, is just out for money. About 7 days ago, he took shots at depression. It was very uncoordinated, and what he said was nothing more than what you would see on a conspiracy theorist wall, alongside all their tinfoil hats. So, let's get into the stupidity of Paul Joseph Watson.
One in 10 Americans are now on antidepressants. 1 in 4 women in their 40s and 50s are on antidepressants. The rate of antidepressant use has increased 400% over the last 2 decades.
You do know that people can become addicted to antidepressants, right? Which may up the amount of people using antidepressants. I like how you don't even state the use of said antidepressants. Because you know that at least some of the people that are written down as buying and using antidepressants possibly are addicted.
Blue Monday? No, not that one.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Blue Monday, the 3rd week of January, is the most depressing day of the year for people living in the Northern Hemisphere. The weather sucks, you're not getting enough sunlight, causing seasonal affective disorder. You're in the most debt, you're more likely to be sick. Christmas is just a memory, and your New Year's resolutions are already failing. So you're more prone to depression than at any other time of the year. But
you do know that there are different types of depression, right? No? Oh, because narrative pushing. But no, you're not biased. You're not fake at all. Fucking dumb cunt.
wait, those factors have always been in play. None of this explains why depression has become so commonplace in modern society. Well, I'll tell you why. We're bathed in a culture that glorifies and fetishizes depression. It's now a form of virtue signaling to constantly drone on about how depressed you are. You see it all over YouTube, these sniveling hug and confess videos made by privileged millennial brats who haven't had a proper day of hardship in their entire lives.
Privileged millennials that have never faced anything or any hardships in their life, huh? You do know that there are multiple things that can cause depression, many of which you have no experience with. Here's a little story. I suffer from chronic depression, which Paul Joseph Watson, later on, tries to say isn't a thing. But the reason is, my family went through 2 divorces, both from my mother and father, when I was at very young ages, and the last one was about 2 months ago. Alongside that, my uncle, who is very close to me, has 3 forms of fucking cancer. Alongside that, when I was a kid, I never saw my dad for days or weeks on end, giving me separation anxiety as well. He's now able to be around, but only because the government isn't screwing him over anymore. But anyway, back to the point I'm making. Alongside that, I've had many times where I have gone lost in large areas as a very young child, where there is a large group of people, but my parents were nowhere in sight. Alongside that, I am very terrified of large groups. Putting all this into perspective gave me social anxiety. No hardships. You can classify me as a millennial, and I went through some fucking hardships. Eh? But no, you completely ignore it just so you can push a fucking narrative. That's all you fucking do. Here's something. How about next time you do some fact checking and then you actually try to tell us what we feel and how we haven't gone through any hardships. But thank you for thinking for all of us.
They think they're being edgy, when in fact they're engaging in just another form of basic bitchery.
You're a basic bitch.
Social media has created a generation of young people suffering from narcissistic personality disorder. They try to one-up each other for depression brownie points, with endless blubberfests about their poor privileged lives.
I don't understand why you're showing this, fat bitch. Everyone knows that this chick was freaking out due to Trump winning. Didn't talk about depression in the short video she made, didn't talk about anything revolving around depression. All she said was, quote, "I'm literally going to fucking kill myself." Nice job generalizing and nice job making actual sufferers of depression look bad. It's all good when you push a narrative.
Meanwhile, people living in African mud huts literally give zero fucks. Maladjustment is now trendy, and not in a kind of Morrissey, emo, grunge-esque, chic kind of way. And heaven knows I'm miserable now. We've always had that. I'm talking about this ridiculous idea that we've been forced to swallow, that constantly admitting weakness is a strength. It isn't. Strength of mind is strength. Being constantly brushed off course by the slightest breeze and then having a whining fit about it isn't. They've transformed being anemic, weak-minded, and easily upset into a positive personality trait.
Being depressed isn't the same as being easily offended. I'm sorry, but you've gone down the rabbit hole. And you're not coming up anytime soon. You're just sitting there. You see, there's a difference between throwing a fucking hissy fit, because Milo Yiannopoulos shows up at your college, and being depressed about something. Sorry, PTSD sufferers from World War II that are still alive that also suffer from depression. You're just easily offended. Sorry, soldier that fought in Iran. You are just easily offended. I know that you saw your best friend's head blown off by a sniper, but you're just easily offended. Sorry, police officer that wasn't able to save a life and is now suffering from PTSD and depression. You're just easily offended. Hey, sorry little orphan boy that saw his entire family die in a house fire and is the only one left and suffers from depression. You're just easily offended. Yeah, it's terrible when you say it like that. But, narrative pushing, ain't I right?
It's this idea that we should all have permanent emotional incontinence. This idea that if we're not constantly sharing the latest chapter in our contrived mental breakdown for all the world to see, that we're somehow cold or inhuman. That's total BS.
Bullshit.
Strength of character used to be about the ability to deal with negative stuff without just falling to pieces at the first sign of distress. Now look what they've turned us into. Simpering pussies wallowing in our own misfortune whenever every tiny thing doesn't go...
Boy, do I love generalizing everyone.
Go our way. Over-eager to share every minor anxiety in a giant self-pitying Facebook post. Oh, but there shouldn't be a stigma around depression anymore. That's mean. Yes, there should. Just as there should be a stigma around smoking and obesity. Depression has become the new fat pride movement. Our culture is telling young people that depression is completely normal and should be embraced. You saw the media pushing this same narrative again after the death of Carrie Fisher. Depression is not normal, but allowing yourself to be indoctrinated with this idea that it is the primary reason why you can't beat it. This coerced mental fragility also renders you completely helpless when it comes to dealing with actual tragedy or hardships. They've turned us into complete pussies, because pussies are easier to push around and manipulate.
You're a big fat pussy.
And if you want to blame someone for this, you can trace it back to idiotic French philosophers like Michel Foucault. They pushed this postmodern nihilistic bullshit that insanity was sanity, and that rampant hedonism was the only way to achieve fulfillment and happiness. Logically, the depression epidemic makes no sense. By every single objective factor, it's never been a better time to be a human being living in the West. Even amongst the poorest, our basic needs are met and exceeded. And depression was barely even a thing. It wasn't even talked about 50 or 60 years ago. So why is everyone so depressed now when we've got it so much easier? It's because you've been completely misled about what depression actually is. Depression is nothing more than dissatisfaction with life. It's temporary unhappiness. But the dominant culture in the pharmaceutical industry figured out that it could control people and make tons of money by treating depression as a pathological disease.
And there you go. The only reason antidepressants are a thing is to make money. No, it's not because there's actual medical research being done on the human brain to figure out what chemicals cause depression. But chronic depression caused by an overload of serotonin and a lack of dopamine and many other drugs related to serotonin. It's just fake. It's not real. What's biology anyway, man? I mean, who actually listens to this fucking dumbass? Paul, you're a conspiracy theorist. You do have some very good videos I do agree with. But when you actively try to attack something that has basis in reality, your comment section on this video shows what happens. People don't agree. People call you a conspiracy theorist. Go back to your mom's basement, wear your tinfoil hat, type in whatever random fucking shit you want to do on your Tumblr post, but leave that shit out of a, quote, non-biased news network.